J Mart, so before we got to DeSager for the update, we've just been talking about the state of the NBA. I want to play you. So ratings down 48%. DeSager just told you women's volleyball on cable doubled the NBA in recent weeks. Okay,
that I don't even know what to say about that.
Stunning. I trust DeSager, but I couldn't believe that when I heard it. It's like that is unbelievable. And listen, there's a million theories on what's gone wrong. We talked about some of them. We did get an interesting thought from our buddy Jason McIntyre. Jason McIntyre, of course, is the co-host of The Herd with Colin Cowherd. Monday through Friday. Obviously, you can hear it on these Fox Sports Radio airwaves, 12 to 3 Eastern, 9 to noon Pacific. Jason McIntyre, big NBA fan. Let's go ahead and play the sound of Jason McIntyre on his thoughts about what's plaguing the NBA right now.
This take probably won't be very popular, but I would argue that Inside the NBA, the show that everybody loves, has done more damage to the NBA in the last decade than anything. Forget about this woke and left and right.
Yeah.
Inside the NBA goes on every week and just trashes players, trashes the style of play. Colin, you look at any other show, MLB Network, NFL Network, these shows, our network, we're all positive. We're excited. We're talking about the games. Inside the NBA, they just hammer the players. Charles Barkley's on TV. The Rockets are in the Final Four for that NBA Cup. Oh, the Rockets don't know how to play basketball. They stink. They don't know what they're doing. What are you doing? You're damaging your product on a nightly basis, hammering it.
So that was Jason McIntyre on the Herd with Colin Cowherd sharing his thoughts on what is plaguing the NBA. I have thoughts on J-Mac's thoughts, but what are your thoughts on J-Mac?
I know what he's saying, and weirdly enough, and I didn't know about this audio, I suggested something to you this morning that I had found just on a random, one of those NBA YouTubers that spends a lot of time talking about the league, and I wanted to get just more crowdsourcing information, and they had the same take about media in general, but specifically about Inside the NBA. And while I understand it, I'm also like, don't you want people to be honest? Like, do we have to shill for the league that we're employed by when it's not? Maybe they are overly negative because they're critical guys. They always were. Barkley was an edgy dude who spoke and said what was on his mind. That's why we love him. Like, that's why Barkley has been who Barkley has been. He has free reign to do his thing, to say kind of whatever it is that he wants to say, and he's going to be blatantly honest when he thinks something is not up to snuff. Shaq, who cannot take even one iota of criticism about himself or about his career or anything else like that. He's real fun until you start talking about his game, and then things get a little bit salty real quick. Doesn't mean I don't like Shaq. It just means that's just something in him that I've noticed for a long time. Shaq crushes guys repeatedly. That tends to happen when you have all-time greats like Hall of Famers, like arguably the best at their positions to ever play and things like that are watching a game that they don't recognize anymore. Like, I get his point. I know exactly what Jason McIntyre is saying. It's like, yeah, you want to be more positive. You want it to be about the good things that are happening in the league. But that's not why those guys are popular. Like, it's a double-edged sword. Inside the NBA, and I've said this before, I love the NBA, but if there are moments where I don't have time to watch the games during the week or whatever like that, I have had on, weekly DVR for about a decade now, scheduled Inside the NBA. I get the NBA TV coverage because you never know when the late game's going to end on TNT, and I want to make sure I get the entire thing. So I make sure to get one in the morning on NBA TV that's repeated, so I make sure I get the entire program. But I'm able to catch up. And sometimes that's what I do. That doesn't make me hate the league because they're critical of it. That's who those guys are. They have a giant megaphone, and they're blatantly honest. And I think that's why Ernie fits, because Ernie then kind of counterbalances that by being more the everyman and more the devil's advocate to the negativity. But that negativity to me is never like from a bad place. I don't see it as a bad-spirited thing. I see them being critical of things that irritate them as basketball fans, and certainly as the styles that they like and the styles that they played, they see things that don't compute, and they always view those and talk about those from that lens.
Yeah, I would say this. Obviously, look, we both like J-Mac a lot. Great guy. I disagree. I think why the first of all, you can't say that no other show criticizes their sport, because I turned on College Game Day today and all I heard was how Indiana didn't belong in the college football playoff. So you can't say that.
I heard it on the broadcast last night.
Exactly.
I mean, Greg McElroy and Sean McDonough buried the Big Ten.
Doesn't look so smart now, but that's neither here nor there. But the point is, one, you certainly hear other sports, league issued shows criticize the league and criticize decisions and this and that. But two, I think why it feels so shocking is because, of course, the fact that nobody else in the media is willing to criticize the NBA. That's why it sounds so shocking, is because you don't have media that actually covers the sport. You have largely propaganda. I mean, the NBA ratings have been dropping for a decade. And if you even tried to pretend that it was an issue, you were called all sorts of names. And you know what the names were, J. Mart, because you've been critical just like I am. Oh, you don't criticize the NFL like this. Well, yeah, because the NFL's ratings are through the freaking roof. Well, and it's like, and then the NBA fans have every excuse. Oh, well, we're big in China and we're big here and it doesn't matter this. And it's like, I'm sorry. There is no American-based product that is perfectly okay with their consumers falling off at almost 50% over the last decade. It doesn't exist. And so to me, why the Inside the NBA guys sound so critical is not because they're that critical. One, it's just because they have the biggest platform. Two, to your point, I would argue they have the biggest platform because they're honest and sincere and actually talked about the sport in a real way. But it also just feels so jarring because nobody else in the media is willing to have the honest conversations that they are not that they are willing to have.
Yeah, I mean that's what makes them unique in space, and I don't just mean in their own sport. I mean the cookie cutter stuff that you're going to hear tomorrow, leading into the NFL games, with that comment here or there, maybe notwithstanding, there's no reason to watch that stuff. There was a time when there was a reason to watch that. But most of that's been replaced by the manufactured debate garbage that you get during the week every morning on all your favorite sports networks and on a lot of sports talk radio in general also. I feel like the difference and what has separated Inside the NBA is, yes, they are compelling and interesting. They come from a place of education, certainly, where they know what they're talking about. Doesn't mean they're always right. Doesn't mean I always agree with them. But that doesn't matter. They're compelling and interesting. They create topics that are, and their discussions and debates among themselves is the other thing. And it doesn't feel artificial. There's no world in which I see them sitting down and say, Charles Barkley, you're going to take this position, and then Kenny is going to say, no. There is a very off-the-cuff, well, what are they going to say about this, that makes you want to see them in a very genuine, it's just different. And so I don't think I don't think you want to bite that head. I don't think you want to go after that. I don't think that the problem with the league is the people are saying the league's bad. No, what you need to do is figure out why they're saying it's bad. And I don't think that those two things work. I don't think you can beg the question there. You're assuming the thing you're trying to prove. I don't think that works.